These are the 18 most emotional NBA moments that shook fans, broke hearts, and proved basketball is more than just a game. Kobe Bryant's final game in 2016 felt unreal. At 37 years old, his body was broken, and everyone thought he had nothing left. But against the Utah Jazz, he dropped 60 points. The Staples Center erupted, his teammates fed him the ball, and the whole world realized they were watching a legend give everything one last time. It wasn't just a farewell, it was a war cry. But if Kobe's last stand brought tears, what came after him brought even more pain. When Kobe tragically passed away in January 2020, the NBA froze. The first Lakers game after his death was unlike anything seen before. LeBron James spoke with tears in his eyes, fans held up jerseys, and the arena echoed with chants of Kobe. Players from both teams hugged, some crying on the court. The loss felt bigger than basketball. It was as if the league had lost its heart. And speaking of loss, another night of grief took over when the Celtics honored Paul Pierce. Pierce, the Warrior of Boston, played through injuries and battles for years. In his jersey retirement ceremony, the crowd went insane as his banner was raised to the rafters. Tears filled his eyes as legends stood beside him, showing the respect he fought for his whole career. It was more than applause. It was Boston giving back to the man who gave them everything. But if Pierce's tribute was emotional, what happened with Dwyane Wade was just as unforgettable. In his final season, Wade got a farewell unlike any other. The Miami Heat legend swapped jerseys with stars across the league: LeBron, Melo, Chris Paul. His final game in Miami was pure chaos, dropping a triple-double while the crowd screamed like it was Game 7 of the finals. Watching Wade walk off the court, fans knew an era had ended. And then came the shocking story of Isaiah Thomas in Boston. In 2017, just days after his sister died in a car crash, Isaiah stepped onto the court for a playoff game. He dropped 33 points against the Bulls while tears filled his eyes during warm-ups. The crowd stood and roared, honoring a man playing through heartbreak most couldn't even imagine. That performance became one of the rawest moments in NBA history. But if Isaiah showed strength in tragedy, the next moment revealed pure joy. Dirk Nowitzki's final home game in Dallas was a celebration. Fans filled the arena, legends like Charles Barkley and Larry Bird honored him, and Dirk gave one last vintage performance. His fadeaway jumper swished, the crowd lost their minds, and the German giant finally said goodbye. It wasn't just a retirement, it was the closing of a 21-year love story between one player and one city. And while Dirk left with love, another legend's final bow was just around the corner. Vince Carter's last game was quiet, but it hit hard. The man who once defied gravity with dunks that made jaws drop was now waving goodbye in an empty arena during the pandemic. No roaring crowd, no big ceremony, just one final three-pointer and a walk off the court that felt like the end of an era. The footage shows teammates clapping, but the silence screamed louder than any cheer, and silence turned into shock when Gordon Hayward's leg snapped on live TV. Opening night, Celtics vs. Cavs, 2017. Just minutes into the game, Hayward went up for a lob and came crashing down. His ankle twisted in a way no human body should. Players covered their faces. LeBron knelt in disbelief. The crowd gasped. Hayward lay there motionless as the NBA world realized this wasn't just an injury, it was a nightmare. That moment still haunts fans who saw it unfold in real time. But if Hayward's fall was horrifying, what happened with Derrick Rose was pure redemption. After years of injuries and doubt, Rose exploded for 50 points in a Timberwolves jersey. He wasn't supposed to be that guy anymore, but that night, he was unstoppable. When the buzzer sounded, Rose broke down crying. Teammates hugged him like he'd just won a championship. The crowd chanted his name. It wasn't just a stat line, it was a man proving he still had something left. That game turned pain into power. And speaking of power, Kevin Durant's return to OKC was a storm. The moment he stepped onto the court, boos rained down like thunder. Fans held up cupcake signs, mocking him for leaving. Every touch of the ball was met with hate, but Durant didn't flinch. He dropped buckets, stared down the crowd, and walked off victorious. The tension was brutal. The emotion was raw. That wasn't just a game. It was a war between loyalty and ambition. But if Durant's return was hostile, what happened with Michael Jordan in 1998 was pure heartbreak. Game 6, Finals, Bulls vs. Jazz. Jordan and legends don't always leave quietly. Tim Duncan's final game was quiet, but the aftermath was heavy. No farewell tour, no big speech, Just one last playoff loss and a walk into the shadows. But when the Spurs honored him later, the emotion poured out. Popovich choked up. Fans stood for minutes. Duncan, the silent killer, finally got his flowers. That tribute showed how deep his impact ran, even without the flash. But if Duncan's goodbye was subtle, the next moment was anything but. And that brings us to one of the most gut-wrenching scenes in recent memory. Klay Thompson's injury in Game 6 of the 2019 Finals. He was on fire, dropped 30 points, looked unstoppable. Then, out of nowhere, he tore his ACL on a fast break. But here's the part that crushed fans. He came back out of the tunnel just to shoot his free throws, limping, in pain, but refusing to quit. The crowd roared. Warriors fans cried. That wasn't just toughness. It was a warrior refusing to fall without a fight. And speaking of fights, the next moment was a battle of emotion and legacy. Allen Iverson's Hall of Fame speech. The man who changed the culture of basketball stood on stage, voice cracking, thanking his mom, his coaches, and the fans who never gave up on him. Iverson wasn't just a player, he was a movement. And watching him break down, finally getting the respect he deserved, was a moment that hit deep. That speech wasn't just emotional, it was overdue. But if Iverson's tears were powerful, what happened with Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2021 was explosive. After years of doubters saying he couldn't win without a super team, Giannis dropped 50 points in Game 6 of the Finals. Then came the post-game interview. He broke down, thanking his family, his roots, and the grind that got him there. That wasn't just a championship. It was a man proving the world wrong. The emotion in his voice made fans feel every second of his journey. And journeys don't always end with trophies. Chris Paul finally made the finals in 2021 after 16 years of heartbreak. When the Suns clinched the Western Conference title, CP3 sat on the bench, head in hands, overwhelmed. He'd been doubted, traded, injured, but he never stopped. That moment wasn't about stats. It was about survival. Watching a veteran finally get his shot brought tears to fans who'd followed his story from day one. But if CP3's climb was emotional, what happened with Russell Westbrook was pure chaos. In 2017, after losing Durant, Westbrook went on a mission. He averaged a triple-double for the season and hit a game winner against the Nuggets to seal it. The crowd exploded. He screamed. Fans lost their minds. That wasn't just a buzzer beater. It was revenge. It was rage. It was Westbrook saying, "I don't need anyone." That moment was raw, loud, and unforgettable. And unforgettable is the only word for what happened with Luka Doncic. In the 2022 playoffs, Luka torched the Suns in Game 7. But it wasn't just the performance. It was the smirk, the trash talk, the way he stared down the crowd after every bucket. He wasn't just winning, he was humiliating them. And when the buzzer sounded, Luka walked off like a villain in a movie. That moment was emotional, not because of tears, but because of dominance. And dominance leads us to the final moment, Stephen Curry's breakdown in 2022. After winning his 4th ring, Curry collapsed on the court, crying, screaming. Years of criticism, injuries, and people saying he couldn't carry a team. Gone. That moment was pure release. The finals MVP, the legacy, the emotion. It was the perfect ending to a journey that started with doubt and ended with greatness.